what I really want to focus on to start is that we've mentioned it in previous segments, but there's a large amount of the population that is approaching what we call that retirement age, whatever it may be. And there's different triggers and transitions, as we like to say, in our life happens of our 5 critical elements. And these things that occur at work, it could be positive, could be negative, that are getting you to think, all right, is it a good time for me to start retiring? And so just a basic scenario that we've seen in the last year and a half is, you are working and an employer comes to you and says, we really appreciate what you do here, but, we're trying to kind of figure out how we can save a little bit of money. And I want to also say there's an opposite side to this too that we've seen, where a lot of companies are keeping the 60 to 70-year-old engineers, doctors, whoever it may be, to say, hey, we can't afford to let you go. But they're also on the other side as well to say, hey, it would help us if we give you this and this extra money or this severance package, if you will, to retire earlier than you expected. And that's a big moment for a lot of people, especially if they're not expecting to retire. And so some things, that they want to make sure that they consider, and I think is the biggest that most people kind of weigh on, is that health insurance side. Do you qualify? Is your employer going to give you any health insurance to bridge that gap to Medicare? Do you have to pay out of pocket? Do you have an HSA that's been set aside to potentially help you with some of those health insurance premiums? Because that could be a huge amount of extra income that comes out. But also, you have to decide that baby that you've been nurturing in your investments that for so long, are you ready to start letting that help you provide the income that you need? And that's really a behavioral or a psychological decision that's really difficult for a lot of people to make. So setting yourself up for these scenarios, I think, is the best plan of action to say, what if somebody comes to me and says, I want you to retire at 62 and not work, on to 65 or later? Do you have everything in place to allow yourself that option? Because when you have those options, now all of a sudden that big decision that seems like it could be 100% good or bad, all of a sudden just becomes, it's just something I need to ponder on, and I've got options that I can choose from.